Good evening and welcome to the November Town Board meeting. And I'd like to take this opportunity to wish everyone a very, very happy and healthy Thanksgiving. With the holidays upon us, a season of giving and goodwill, we've been requested to declare the month of November Be Kind America Month in the town of Islip. And since it's late in the month, I'm going to suggest that we carry it through the end of the year. Be Kind America was launched by the Be Kind People Project, and it offers unique and culturally relevant youth development programs that effectively combine academics, character, education, fitness, nutrition, digital citizenship, civic awareness, teacher appreciation, and family engagement. The goal of the Be Kind People Project is to give today's children and tomorrow's leaders a tangible opportunity to learn the core skills of respect and responsibility and share them with families, friends, and communities. This initiative is designed to give students the tools to create positive social change. And we have many programs in the town of Islip. Our youth board and the members of the youth board and the youth bureau in particular are very tuned into that. Programs like YES, the YES program, Youth Enrichment Services, our ambassador program that works with the various schools to teach social justice. So we really are sort of ahead of the curve in the town. Through experience and project-based learning, students are equipped with solid framework for decision-making and taking accountability for building respectful interpersonal relationship skills, improving academic results, and forming enduring values. I'd encourage the members of our audience today to visit their website at the BeKindPeopleProject.org and explore the many ways you can incorporate this movement into your school or workplace. I'd like to take this opportunity also, again, to commend those programs that are existing in the town. And the Scouts, they do a great job in that endeavor too. So let's try to be more supportive of what they do to help make a difference as we go forward. Tonight we are honoring, our first honoree is Teatro Yeba Bruja. Did I get it? Of Central Islip. This theater company and grassroots organization for social change recently collected close to 200,000 pounds of food. Why don't you come forward while I'm sharing this? For the victims of Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico. They've shipped more than 100,000 pounds of food, water, and other items, and another 100,000 will be on its way shortly. An interesting fact worth noting is that yerba bruja is an indigenous plant of the Puerto Rican countryside with healing powers and which has the ability to thrive under any conditions. This is symbolic of their mission to promote constructive social change on Long Island. Their efforts have gone full circle, and they are now working to build a bridge of hope between Long Island and Puerto Rico, assisting with the rehabilitation of schools and with the Commonwealth's infrastructure. Margarita Espada is here, and I'd also like to recognize the efforts of Manny Troch of FD Fire Department Unity, who organized a lot of our fire departments in the town of Islip, who also did a lot of collecting of goods needed in Puerto Rico. So if you would please, is there any these ladies with you to please come up and accept this recognition? We have for some of your members, obviously, who are not here tonight, but Margarita, if you would please share this with those of your organization that participated. And thank you so much. Margarita is endless energy. They've done a lot in the community, helped sponsor the parade, the Puerto Rican Day Parade, the Hispanic Day Parade, that has become legendary now in the Brentwood Bayshore community. So we thank you for all of your efforts. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Our next honoree is Janissa Lloyd of Islip. Janissa is a student at the East Islip Middle School. Recently, she, along with other advocates for the national Down Syndrome Society met with senators and congressmen on Capitol Hill, asking them for their support in joining the Congressional Task Force on Down Syndrome and the Able to Work Act. Janissa and other advocates met with Senator Chuck Schumer, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, Congressman Tom Suozzi, and Congressman Peter King. After her visit, Janissa received a letter from Congressman Peter King informing her that he had joined the Congressional Task Force on Down Syndrome and that he co-sponsored the Able to Work Act. So it really shows that even at a young age, you can help advocate for things that you're passionate about. Recently, she and other advocates became the face of the National Down Syndrome Society, their faces gracing the covers of billboards across Washington, D.C., on bus stops and airports across the country. So please join me in honoring Janissa Lloyd tonight. Our next honoree will be introduced by Councilwoman Mary Kate Mullen, who kind of brought this to our attention, and we're very grateful for that. Mary Kate?
Thank you, Supervisor. On November 24th, the Islip Hamlet Historical Society will dedicate a historical marker to Louisine Havemeyer and her place in history. Here to give us a history of Louisine Havermeyer's role in the women's suffrage movement in the town is the town historian, George Muckenbeck.
I want to thank the supervisor and the town board for the opportunity to share the story of two incredible women, one of whom is Louisine Havemeyer. 100 years ago today, most talk in Islip centered around the country's entrance into the war in Europe and the passage on November 6th of an amendment to the New York State Constitution granting women the right to vote. That right was gained by the women of New York 2 years before the ratification of the 19th Amendment. While many know of the contributions of the 1848 Seneca Falls Convention and the work of Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony, few know that while these women worked toward the idea, their efforts did not accomplish the aim. It fell to two women who were associated with Islip Town to take over the movement and change it from a sedate upper middle class lobbying movement to an inclusive, militant, and activist one that welcomed women of all economic and ethnic backgrounds and thus gained for the women of New York and the nation the right to vote. These two women were Louisine Waldron Elder Havemeyer and Alva Smith Vanderbilt Belmont. Alva Belmont was born on a plantation in antebellum Alabama into a life of privilege. She stated that she came to the realization that women did not have equal rights and treatment when as a child she was admonished for running and climbing trees and told that girls do not do that. Defying the opposition of family and friends, she used her great wealth to purchase an office building near the corner of 5th Avenue and 42nd Street to change the image of the movement and put both state and national offices of the suffragist movement into that building. She also opened her house in Newport, Rhode Island to the public for tours, and after the tour, the visitors were given lectures and information on women's rights. They were also asked to join the movement and, of course, to contribute. She also helped Alice Paul and Lucy Stone to open discussion rooms for women of the working class and used her many estates as weekend retreats for working class women. It was her desire to ensure that the movement included African American women, immigrant women, and union members. She contacted the British suffragette movement and had their leader teach the tactics of protest to American women. Her money drove demonstrations and activism, much to the revulsion of the wealthy society women of her time. Louisine Havemeyer, also born into wealth in New York City, used her wealth and influence toward the cause of women's suffrage. She was responsible for turning a simple wooden torch made by a woman from the East End of Long Island into the symbol of the movement. She also took a model of the Mayflower, decorated with lights, and used it at the rallies she led to show that women should steer the ship of state. Louisine Havemeyer also became one of the most active members in a very active movement, including protesting in front of the White House during World War I in defiance of presidential and military orders. At the age of 64, she was arrested and jailed for burning an effigy of President Wilson on the White House lawn. She was taken into D.C. prison in Lorton, Virginia, and placed in a basement cell where the floor was covered in straw and there was no heat. After her release, she capitalized on this event by chartering a train that she named the Prison Special. She and the other suffragists who were jailed for the protest traveled the nation wearing their prison shifts, pushing the cause of women's suffrage and embarrassing President Wilson and Congress for their inaction. Far too long, these two women have been remembered more for their wealth and social status, but their activism in the pursuit of the right to vote has often been forgotten. Their lives should remind us of the importance of preserving all history, so we get an appreciation for how far we have come to get where we are now. Alva Belmont and Louisine Havemeyer changed the face of politics, both here in New York State and the nation, and demonstrate how the events in the past impact the future. This year, we dedicated the March display in the Brookwood Hall History Room to these women and their work. In 2016, Alva Belmont's Washington, D.C. home was made a National Historic Site, and on this coming Friday, as you heard, Islip Hamlet Historical Society will dedicate a historic marker to Louisine Havemeyer. Recognition of their impact in America has been a long time coming, but one must only look at the dais right now in this room to view their legacy and the impact made on the town of Islip and our nation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all, and we will begin the agenda this evening with a continuation of our public hearing from last Thursday regarding the Industrial Corridor District Study and corresponding code amendments. I call upon the town clerk, Olga Murray, to please read the hearing notice.
Thank you. This hearing is to consider adopting the Veterans Memorial Highway Industrial Corridor District Planning and Zoning Study and corresponding code amendments. The environmental impacts will be studied on this property located between the Connecticut and Sachem School Districts on Veterans Memorial Highway between Connecticut State Park and the intersection with Sunrise Highway, Bohemia, Town of Islip, Suffolk County, New York.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ron?
Good evening, honorable supervisor, members of the town board. Again, this is a continuation of the town-initiated industrial corridor district. It's a 5-mile stretch of property along Veterans Highway from Connecticut State Park to Sunrise Highway. It's roughly 800 feet in width, including the state right-of-way. The board asked us at the last Thursday, November 16th hearing to assemble some of the public comments, which we did send out yesterday. So if I could just go through that briefly so that you understand what we've distributed. We outlined the public outreach. Again, our consultant, Nelson Pope and Voorhees, contacted stakeholders, interested parties, landowners, people that have shown interest in the property. We redacted the names and addresses of the properties because again we've held that in confidence. We promised people that when they spoke to us, we wouldn't reveal their identities because they are in competition with each other. The second part of the process was there was an open house. You can see the sign-in sheet. That was on September 12th. That was attended by over 75 to 80 people. Not everyone signed in. At the September 12th open house, there were representatives by both the Bohemia Civic Association as well as Ronkonkoma. Those have been denoted. There were a total of 4 representatives from each of those civics. During the open house, we passed out and distributed comment sheets, which is also included in your packet. There's a limited number of those. I'll note at that time that neither of the civics commented in writing at the September 12th open house. After the open house and the comments received that are in your packet, we sent out a follow-up memo asking for people if they had any last comments. And again, that's included in your packet. So all of the comments from either pre-open house, during the open house, after the open house, and again, included in the last year, from last Thursday's public hearing, are included in your packet as far as the narrative, mostly an 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper. We also included a tabulation of different issues, a couple of pages here, again, summarizing some of the issues from both the stakeholders and the comments. And lastly, the concern was that there seemed to be a plethora that there are concerns that this corridor is going to turn into a fast food and gas station retail area. And that is, again, that is not the goal of the town planning department. We want to enhance the industrial and commercial base. We want to augment and provide areas for people can safely gas up or buy goods at a convenience store or fast food or a sit-down restaurant. The code right now, again, dates back to 1986, and we find it too restrictive. The uses that are out there are non-conforming. So the gas stations, the fast food, and some of the retailers are not zoned ICD. So if we allow this text amendment, which is the recommendation of the study, it will allow opportunities, but done sensitively. Again, the graphics that you have for you, we passed this out tonight because maybe you didn't have it in color. We showed possible opportunities. Blue are areas where at signalized intersection there could be a gas convenience store that's beyond the quarter mile of an existing gas station. The green are fast food with drive-throughs, and the red are, again, sit-down restaurants or restaurants without drive-throughs. So there are opportunities, but I would note, as you can see, again, these colors are rather translucent. You can see many of these sites are already fully developed, so it's probably not all of them are viable, and again, not all of these sites can account or will be developed for retail uses. So we think that we think that this process has been rather transparent. We've gathered documentation through the process. And again, if there's any other questions, we think this answers the questions that you asked. But again, we're here tonight as a continuation of the public hearing to answer any questions the board may have or the public. Are there any questions?
First, looking at this chart of colorization, there's only 2 sites that would be able to be fast food in this whole corridor?
Robert Hayes has joined me tonight. So green is fast food.
Green is fast food.
So 1, 2, right?
They can,
Right?
they can go on larger sites, technically. This is anything that's anything that's 40 to 60,000 square foot, 60 to 80, or 80 and above. So blue is obviously larger.
So to answer your question, Steve, is these are minimally 2. If a developer were to buy a larger property than the minimum required, and again, let me amplify my comments from last Thursday. This zoning district, if enacted, is more restrictive than any other hamlet. It requires larger lot areas. It requires specific locations next to signalized intersection. It has a 40-foot landscape setback as well as a 100-foot setback. So it's very restrictive. We don't think it's going to be, again, a retail strip. So to answer your question, yes, on these graphics, per the minimum lot area required in the zoning text, there's only 2. However, if a developer were to buy a larger property, if it were available and the pro forma and the economics worked out, there could be more, but it's limited.
Thank you. Any other questions? We have a few people who have signed up to speak on this public hearing, so I will call them, remind everyone you have 3 minutes to address us. The first speaker is Eileen Panico.
Hi, good evening. All right, I have my notes here. Of course, my phone just shut off. So last week, you had the meeting, and you talked about which changes were incorporated into the plan from the comments that you received that night. So we didn't get an answer tonight about that, which changes that were suggested were actually incorporated. So we're curious to know what that was. Also, last meeting, 4 residents spoke up, and they were against some of the changes that were there. I want to reiterate that we're not against changing the zoning for Vets Highway. What we are against is adding more fast food restaurants, more gas stations, and more hotels. Currently, I did a Google Map thing last night. Currently, we have about 9 gas stations, and I may have missed 1 or 2. Most of them do have convenience stores. We have about 9 banks, and again, some of them have drive-throughs, and I may have missed 1 or 2. We have 3 seedy motels, and we have 3 actual hotels. We would be glad to have those seedy motels replaced with nicer hotels so that business clients can stay there when they come in through MacArthur Islip Airport. We also have, Ron made a comment about not everyone can afford upscale restaurants, and I agree with him, but we have 15 food places right now on Vets Highway in that corridor. We have 3 delis, we have an ice cream store, we have 2 pizzerias, 2 Chinese stores, a Starbucks, an Applebee's, a Mickey D's, a diner, a Subway, Mexican food, and the only restaurant that's actually a sit-down is McGuire's Comedy Club, which I don't even think is open during the day, I'm not really sure. So we have enough of that. I think what we mentioned last week was to give us some upscale. There are a lot of business people in the area that would like to take clients. I doubt they're taking them to Mickey D's or a Burger King if we put one of those in. So we ask you again to consider using more upscale restaurants rather than these drive-through fast food places. We also spoke about the landscaping. That was not what I wanted to talk about now. Okay. I think that's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker, Joanne Carignan.
Hi. You want my address or no?
Yeah, name, address, the record, please.
Joanne Carignan, 1995 Julia Goldbach Avenue, Ronkonkoma. I'm with Eileen as far as the overbuilding of Vets Highway. I live right off Vets Highway, and I can tell you is an absolute nightmare. I travel the highway. I have the misfortune of using that highway every day for the last 7 years to go to Bohemia. I'm probably 2 miles from my house. Could take me anywhere from 20 minutes sometimes to get there because of the in and out of all the driveways. McDonald's in the morning, they're in and out of there. Trucks park on the, quote, bicycle path that no bicyclists actually use and never use. Ridiculous. Total hazard, all of it. The hotel across the street, the Clarion, I actually see people running across Vets Highway, climbing over the barrier to get to McDonald's. When I first spotted it, wasn't quite sure what it was all about. Then I realized they're not hotel residents visiting, that's emergency housing. They're using McDonald's because they can't use the restaurant apparently inside the Clarion. Also another hazard. So to me, as far as I'm concerned, no more gas stations and no more fast food restaurants. That's my opinion. I mean, the one on my corner, actually, there was just an accident at the gas station on the corner of Julia Goldbach and Vets Highway because you have Julia Goldbach and then you have a driveway right there for the gas station. So somebody's pulling out, someone's pulling in, and sure enough, there's collision there. So it is definitely a hazard and one that should be considered.
Thank you, Joanne. Next speaker, Eric Alexander.
Supervisor, members of the town board, my name is Eric Alexander. I'm with Vision Long Island. Sorry. Eric Alexander, Vision Long Island. We're asked to comment or to share our comments or thoughts on this application, the zone change. So on the changes to the industrial corridor district on Vets Highway, we feel these modest changes will help allow employees who work in the district access basic services without having to travel long distances. It maintains the high quality and sorry, usually I'm too loud. It maintains the high quality industrial character suited to the area surrounding the airport. These changes reduce the vehicle miles traveled, auto and truck congestion, and greenhouse gas emissions, and will also improve Suffolk's air quality, so as folks won't travel long distances outside the corridor to meet basic needs and services. And then these allow options for employees in the area. This will not compete with local downtowns as primary destinations, as there are not many within a reasonable travel distance from this zone. Vision Long Island's focus is primarily on downtowns and walkable places, yet the zoning of auto-oriented places is important to ensure that they are complementary to walkable downtowns and not competing in a way that hurts nearby downtowns. But reducing long travel times and strengthening the area's job development base is key to keeping young people and employers on Long Island. We hear the community wanting to see changing conditions on the corridor, and they should. High-quality design and landscaping standards combined with the flexibility this code provides will allow the type of investment that folks want to see around the airport and Vets Highway. And clearly, the changes on the Ronkonkoma hub, folks who want that form of a destination, that will occur on the Brookhaven side. On the Islip side, you'll see some improvements and reinvestment in some of these properties, and there won't be the slumification, we believe, in talking to some property owners and developers in the area and seeing investment patterns as they are across the island. So these are the right, flexible, modest types of changes you're making. We see codes across the island in these order-oriented zones that are far too flexible. You're hitting just the right chord in this, in our opinion. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. That's all the cards that we have to speak on this. We had a number of people that came out on Thursday, and kind of the overriding synopsis of it was that the code that is existing is too restrictive. There were a number of people who came up, one in particular, the owner of the parcel that is on the corner, I believe, of Sycamore and Vets, where the pool building is the abandoned or, derelict pool building, who has tried to do something a number of times, but it just was not permissible with what was there. So I do want you to reiterate something that you pointed out on Thursday as far as it being more restrictive than many of the other areas that we've addressed in the past, particularly with the landscaping and the setbacks and the minimum lot required for fast food?
Correct. This zoning category is more restrictive than any other commercial district in the town of Islip. So whether you take Sayville, Bayport, or Bayshore as examples, the minimum lot area is more restrictive than it can be in a central business district. Okay, so they need more land to purchase because there's no municipal parking lots out here. They're limited on curb cuts because it's a high-speed, limited access arterial highway that's under the jurisdiction of New York State. We require a 40-foot landscape setback, which would be unheard of in any other hamlet, given the extending circumstances as well as the character that we're trying to enhance and not diminish, and a 100-foot building setback. So while this is not a pedestrian-friendly, walkable downtown, having a 40-foot treatment with landscaping and sidewalks and benches will make it somewhat conducive and, again, soften the traveling public to the property. The setback accommodates parking in the building, and the code actually requires certain architectural level details that no other commercial district has. So we think this is a good match, and if I can go back to the graphics, to Steve's question is, there are more opportunities demonstrated in red areas, okay? So sit-down restaurants or restaurants without drive-through, there are much more opportunities on the graphics than the fast food. And again, this graphic shows minimum areas, minimum required for a sit-down restaurant, minimum required for a drive-through or fast food, and minimum for gas and convenience. We think it's a measured approach. The board has a number of options, okay? If you were not to allow any other gas stations, we think that would be remiss. If we don't allow some new gas stations to supplant the existing ones, we're never going to upgrade. Many of these gas stations, again, are limited. They're not fully improved to the standards that we're looking for in this. So if we allow some new gas stations to replace the existing ones, we think that's, again, the glass is half full, and that's a step in the right direction. If you go through the comments that we've given you, the overwhelming, again, I'm not a big proponent of fast food, but the overwhelming theme in a lot of these comments where people want to get something to eat and they want to get back to work within a half hour, an hour, and they can't do that at a sit-down restaurant. But this code does not prohibit sit-down restaurants. It encourages that as much, if not more, than the fast food.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments for the Commissioner?
Yeah, I have some questions.
Certainly, Councilwoman.
So, Commissioner, if we tried to go back to the drawing board, let's say we reserved tonight, we didn't make a decision. We went back and we looked at this again. Would there be any way that we can tighten up 3 things that I'm very concerned about? No more gas stations, no more fast food restaurants, no more emergency housing. Is there any way that we could tighten up all of those concerns that one of the residents had mentioned?
You could strike tonight, a majority of the board could strike out that gas stations be permitted. That can happen tonight. You don't have to go back to the drawing board. You don't have to reserve it. So the board could decide that gas stations in the code, which are not, the current ICD doesn't allow gas stations or convenience stores or many other retail uses. So if the prerogative of the board is not to allow any new gas stations, that's just a line item strikeout that can be made in the motion if there's a majority to do that. My reservation with that is, again, is some of these gas stations are so downtrodden, you're never going to replace them. They're frozen in time. It's like driving an old car. If you're happy driving the old car, that's great, but you're never going to update or increase it because, again, none of these properties meet ID standards today. Fast food, again, could be simple strikeout if the board or motion was to not allow fast food, again, but that won't allow updates. As far as emergency housing, I believe that would be illegal. Again, unfortunately, a lot of this is supported and financed by Suffolk County Social Services. However, if there's going to be any new hotels, and we heard a gentleman last Thursday was proposing or contemplating a Hyatt hotel, conference center, and a restaurant. The town can place some covenants on the property, and we're getting better with covenants, at least during my tenure here, and with JR's help, we can limit the length of stay. We can prohibit, again, voluntary. So to avoid the legal issue, if an applicant comes in during the discretionary land use application and he volunteers to place covenants on the property, they can be sustained. Case in point, when the town recently approved the Salvation Army on Carlton Avenue, some of the concerns of the neighbor was a homeless shelter or a thrift store. The applicant, during the planning board public hearing and during the deliberations of the covenants, volunteered to place covenants on the property. So if they're voluntarily and they're written properly, those are sustainable. But for us to just outlaw emergency housing would not be sustainable.
Okay, if we were to, as you said, that we could strike out no new gas stations. If we were to strike out, and the only reason why I said this is because you and I both know that we have residential houses in beautiful neighborhoods on acre estates that are now turning themselves into wedding venues. And we can't stop it, we can't control it. We can say, you can only stay for 2 nights, but that's not actually cutting it when we come to what the reality is that we're dealing with. So when we say, well, you can be a hotel, but you can only stay for, you have to have a certain amount of stay, we're not succeeding right now in the situation that we have with beautiful estates that have gone and turned themselves into wedding venues and bachelor party venues and all other kinds of venues. Is there any way that we could say no new hotels so that we could scratch that problem that could come to fruition because we have already seen it along this corridor?
Short answer, yes. So tonight the board, again, if it's their prerogative, you could cross out new gas stations, fast food, and hotels.
Thank you.
But that only leaves you with banks, pharmacies, and restaurants that are located within a corporate office building without a sign.
Commissioner, is it true that we already have 15 gas stations within a 5-mile span along Vets Highway?
There's 9 within the study area.
9 existing right now? I think there's 11 and maybe, no?
No.
Depends on where you measure. Within the study area, the 5 miles itself, it's 9. It can go up to 11. If you go further beyond it, there's more. But again, if you prohibit new gas stations, you don't get to replace the old ones.
Commissioner, my final statement and my one last concern is this. There was an open forum where all of the landowners, let me start over. Nelson and Pope was here, the company that did this study, and the gentleman said on the record, and correct me if I'm wrong, that 11 of the property owners were the ones who they sat with. I know there's got to be more than 11 property owners on this corridor.
Oh, Again, this is a zoning text change. There's no requirement. You can see on the first thing, it outlines the process.
Or 11 that he said to me, because I think that's what he said. Is he here?
11 interviews. So there were 11 interviews at various, not all of them were landowners, they're interested parties that submitted applications or people that have expressed interest. Is, again, as your question last week was, did the town send a certified mail? The town did not send a certified mail, nor is it required by state, county, or town ordinances to notify landowners in an affected area of a zoning text change. It may be desirable, but it's not a requirement.
I understand that, but in the 11-mile stretch, I'm sorry, the 5-mile stretch of land that we're talking about, the gentleman from Nelson and Pope said that he met with 11 interested parties.
And that's in your packet.
Yeah. My final thought on this is that there was a public forum here in this room on September 18th. 12th. And I was notified within 24 hours prior to that meeting.
It wasn't for the benefit of elected officials. You were invited late along with all the other elected officials. We were trying to have an open house, which was well attended by, again, over 75 residents, as well as both civic associations. The civics at that meeting did not provide any written comments. The first comment we got from the civics was dated November 16th.
So when I'm notified about a public meeting where the public officials are invited, one day before the meeting's going to happen, that kind of raises a flag with me that it just makes me a little concerned, that's all.
It wasn't intentional, but as you know, if you don't open it for a while, as if we're all buried with emails, it's kind of a moot point as to when you actually get it.
Oh, no, I have the date stamp. I know when I got it, and I know when the meeting started.
But when did you open the email?
I got the email the day before the meeting was historic. Yeah.
When were the emails sent out? When was the email sent out for that open house?
They were sent out.
Nearly 80 people that showed up that day, the meeting notice or the invitation to come to the open house went the day before?
No.
When was it sent out?
There were 53 emails that were sent out probably a week in advance. It was a last-minute thing because we left off inadvertently the elected officials. Again, it's not a formal process.
Thank you.
It's just to gather it. But all elected officials got it at the same time.
No, we didn't. We got the email the day before the event. The landowners got the email on a Friday, the meeting was on a Tuesday, and the elected officials got it on a Monday. So the landowners were notified on a Friday. I was notified the day before the event, along with all the other elected officials.
Correct.
Thank you.
So between September 12th, when the open house was held, and today, have there been opportunities? Have there been briefings? Have there been meetings made available for the electeds to review what we have before us tonight?
Yes.
Each board
I'm
member.
asking
Each board
the
member had.
commissioner.
Each board member had 2 briefings on the ICD study, individually.
Councilman Flattern, are you done?
Yeah.
Councilman Flattern.
Just going back to the heart of the reason we did this study, Commissioner Myers, before you go into the heart of it, one statement was said before about concern about overbuilding. We're not changing any density here. This is not like a planned development district. It's just right now this is the most restricted boulevard probably in the town of what can be built there, and the amount of red tape it would take for anyone to build anything slightly different from having even a restaurant in a lobby of a building, an office building or something else.
Why the existing zoning district has not been successful, it is overly restrictive. Again, to have a sit-down restaurant right now, it has to be located inside an office building but can't have an exterior sign. It's kind of hard to do business on an arterial if you don't have a sign, and that's kind of tantamount to having an office cafeteria for your own employees. So there's been little opportunity. The opportunities that are out there, again, are all non-conforming uses that don't subscribe to the ICD standard, which was large setbacks, highly vegetated buffer along the highway, and higher levels of architectural design. So again, by allowing some upgrades, again, is we will supplant or change some of the non-conforming uses to more suitable uses in this area, but it will not be stripped out. There's simply not enough viable sites out there where you're going to get retail gas stations, convenience stores, and banks. The market will dictate certain things. We think this is a surgical treatment. This was actually initiated by business people in the area, foreign trade zone, landowners. They've asked us to make changes to this 1986 zoning text.
Just again, I want to clarify, so there's no more density is going to be allowed here?
Other than, unless, the only residential units in this area that would be possible allowed unless the board strikes this evening is hotels. There are no residential quarters or residential development in the
In
IC.
density of even office buildings, there's a certain amount of square foot per site, but FAR and all that, that's not changing.
The FAR is not changing. I think it's either .35 or 3.6. Density won't change out here without sewers, and sewers are not coming anytime soon. So the current FAR for whether it's retail or office or industrial has not changed.
That's the part I want to clarify. So there's no more density we're approving here, like a planned development district, like such as downtown Bay Shore or the Central Islip Psychiatric Center.
Right, we're not changing the effective height of any of these buildings, so typically they're going to be 1 or 2 stories, mostly 1 stories. We've not changed the FAR, and we've only changed one thing on setbacks. We're not changing front yard, we're changing on corner lots at signalized intersections. We're asking for an increase of from 25 foot to 50 foot, again, for vision and for aesthetics. So,
which that type of setbacks is not heard of, basically, that on Sunrise Highway, Montauk Highway, or Lakeland Avenue.
correct. On a broad highway with higher speeds, you look for higher setbacks.
Okay, so this is one way, this is going to be a lot less dense on the property if there ever was going to be a restaurant, or there's just a lot more green space even on this, from the setback of the building being 100 feet minimum from a curb, and the front lawn being minimum of 40 feet?
Yes.
Okay, so that was, I just want to clarify, and it's just, again, what people get nervous about is when we do change the zoning in areas, like how we try to make things more urbanized, or Hempstead Turnpike-wise, or everything else. Now, one of the underlying things, it seems like a lot of the business owners of tenants on the street, correct me if I'm wrong, is that was so restrictive that there's not enough food for all the offices there, where they have to go far away to even get a cup of coffee. And the idea here is, yes, there is one fast food place in the street, not that we want to make this fast food road, but for the thousands and thousands of employees that are on that corridor, they have to drive, besides the one choice of McDonald's, they have to go a couple of miles away.
And McDonald's doesn't have a drive-through right now. So again, one of the predominant comments we got on the comment sheets, both at, again, stakeholders as well as at the open house, and is there's not enough food opportunities for workers to get something to eat and go back to their office or job site.
Yeah, part of the reason now is also, other thing came up was about gas stations with convenience stores together. Now, right now, there are some gas, I think it was 9 or 11 gas stations on the road.
Pick your choice. How about 9 to 11?
7.
Or 15.
Looks like it's 11, whatever. The idea here is, by the zoning, is you're letting some more gas stations, but they need a larger pad site than the ones that are present. With the reinvestment, will clean up the inventory that some might not. Some gas stations might be replaced in the future.
We also combined, in order to have, we talked to the industry leaders. So whether you're a 7-Eleven or a Quick Check or other different brands, because again, we're not playing winners and losers here, is we asked all of these convenience stores whether they sell gas, and their prototype answer was yes. So by combining gas with convenience, we get a 2-for-1. So instead of having gas and convenience throughout the corridor, we require both of them. That way, we're not playing like one industry or tenant against another, and we're reducing the proliferation of convenience stores, which again, Islip is enjoying in the last year or two. We are requiring in this zoning text that you can't have a convenience store without a gas station, and you can't have a gas station without a convenience store. That way we get one use as opposed to 2 uses in the corridor, which will cut down on the aesthetics of, again, traffic.
To even get approved for one of these compared to the other ones, they have to have a 40-foot lawn in front of it?
Yes.
And the building would have to be at least 100 feet back, which is, most of them don't even have anything like that. They're more flat.
Take the Shell station across from the airport, okay? It doesn't have 40 foot of landscaping, it doesn't have significant architecture. Again, we consider this area not lightly, as we think it's the gateway to the area. We want to make improvements, but we want to do it in a area that doesn't take away from the traffic integrity. So by increasing potential intensity at signalized intersections, people can make safe turns in and out of a property, as opposed to asking for more curb cuts within non-signalized segments of the road.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
Yes.
Or comments? Certainly. Councilwoman?
Unless somebody else does
No, go
first?
ahead, I'll do that.
Okay, great. So Commissioner, let me ask you this. If we were, and you said that we could strike no new gas stations, we could possibly strike no new fast foods, and I don't know if you said that we could strike no new...
Hotels.
Hotels. If we were able to identify, and I know we have, the existing gas stations that are there, and we don't want to see people go out of business who currently exist there as a gas station. Is there any way that we could work with the current situation that we have there and see if we could get the current gas stations that are there to bridle as a convenience store and perhaps relax the square footage or the acreage of a gas station so that they could conform, so we don't see any new gas stations coming? Is that a possibility?
Unlikely, because most of these gas stations don't have the lot area or the ability to put the 40-foot setback, nor do they probably have the financial wherewithal to redo their building. So some of these places should fade over time, if they are dated, or they should actually buy more land or to redevelop to some other use. So again, if we're going to evolve over time, not everything should probably stay.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, that's it.
Councilman Cochran.
Commissioner, we approved this change today. Are these projects automatically go through, or do the public and the board have an opportunity if a developer comes in and does a quick check, or are they going to have to require to go to change a zone or to have a public hearing?
The answer is yes, there's further scrutiny in order to streamline the process and reduce the clutter or items on the town board agenda. Many of these items are regulated to a planning board special permit. So there's another discretionary action, there's a public hearing, and there's a review and approval of the planning board for most of these uses. So to streamline the process, but allow the applicant and the affected residents or civics to participate, is they're not as of right.
And the other part of that, if we cross easement, that's part of this study too, right? So
Absolutely.
So that's another thing that's going to have to come up for the board, because you're going to have a discussion with the property owner next to it, right?
That's codified. In the past, I actually asked for that. In the past, it's been a policy issue. The problem is, depending on who the staff is, what the tenement of the board on a given night, on a highway like this, and again, to make it safe for the traveling public as well as the people that use these businesses, if we require cross-access, which is only the parking lot aisle, and we get it one parcel at a time as each parcel come in, pretty soon the parking lots connect. So whether it's a squad car, going through at night, Suffolk County Police, or whether it's a soccer mom wanting to go next door to get gas after she went to a restaurant of some sort, it's a convenience without taking away any buildable area, but it makes the road safer and it makes better synergy between the uses. And that's in the code.
Thank you.
That I think is a real plus. We had an application before us Thursday night that the residents adjacent to weren't totally opposed to the facility that was being proposed, but wanted a cross-access agreement with the adjacent property owner so that their little block would not be invaded by traffic. And had we had something like that in place years ago, it may have made everybody's life a little bit easier. Councilman Flattering?
Other question came up before about hotels and covenants. Right now, all the existing hotels don't have, most of them probably have no covenants or restrictions in them, which gives us more power to do something when there is a problem if it comes long-term stay.
How the covenant is written, and again, covenants are words, also enforcement. So when we have a covenant such as 801 Cooked Hill Road, which we are going to bring back to both the planning board and town board, enforcement is critical. But I think what's important with any use, again, is sustainability. price points of the building, how it's designed is key. So if a building, again, the design of a building and what the investment is probably more unlikely. I think one of the downfalls of 81 Crooked Hill Road, it should have never been approved by the town in the first place. It's a poor location, and it was not successful as a hotel.
But I guess my question is, some of the problem motels on that street are much older, they have no covenants or restrictions, there's not much we can do about those. But going over the last, say, decade or so, we've been putting covenant restrictions on things, which gives us a little bit more power control legally when they are not using it for the original intent.
Correct.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or comments for the Commissioner? Hearing none, I will make a motion to close the public hearing, adopt the negative deck, adopt the industrial corridor district planning and zoning study, and adopt the corresponding code changes. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
I'm in favor.
I'm in favor.
Okay, so we have 4 in favor, 1 abstention. Thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioner. I know that you and your staff have really worked tirelessly on this. This has been something that has been years, literally years in the making, starting before I got here, before you got here, and you and your team were able to finally bring it to fruition. So I thank you very much.
If I could make one quick comment, I know you have a long evening, and again, thank you for your time. I would like to point out again that, yes, this is a long time in coming, but I would like to note that this is the first land use study initiated by the town in the last 10 years that actually was implemented. So it's productive as we're going to embark on other hamlet studies. Again, is to make it as transparent as possible, to work with all stakeholders is important, but to do a study and to have it sit on a shelf is kind of unrewarding. So again, the end result is that you do consider it, and I appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you. Okay, that concludes that scheduled public hearing. We'll now move to the public portion. Before we do, we have quite a number of people who have signed up to speak, and it seems that the overriding topic of discussion is Island Hills. I would just ask, Island Hills is not on our agenda this evening, nor will it be for a long time, from what I have been told, as far as how the process goes. We have to engage upon environmental studies and a number of other things that have to happen before a vote would come before this board. And I would ask the town attorney if he would just briefly outline what the expected process or what the typical process would be for something like this.
All right, well, this action would be subject to SECRA.
And can we tell everyone what SECRA is?
It's the State Environmental Quality Review Act. The first step would be a determination of what type of action it is. It's either a type 1 action or a type 2 action. This action would be a type 1 action. That means that an environmental assessment form needs to be completed, and that's really the stage that this is at right now. An environmental assessment form was submitted to the town by the applicant. Now the town planning department needs to do their work, and they need to complete their portion of the form. Once that form is submitted, the town can then determine whether or not they believe this proposed action will cause or may result in a significant adverse environmental impact. If the town board determines that, they would issue what is called a positive declaration. At that point, an environmental impact statement would need to be completed. And prior to the environmental impact statement being completed, there is a scoping process, at which time the public would have the opportunity to speak at a public hearing, typically held before the planning board, to kind of get some of the issues out in the open, and the applicant can then incorporate those issues into their environmental impact statement. Once that's done, there needs to, the town board would then need to take an action on that. They would either have to accept it, or they'd have to send it back to the developer for further comment and further modifications. Again, it's a long process. But I haven't even gotten to the final. Once the draft environmental impact statement is completed, then we go into a final environmental impact statement. At that time, there would be another public hearing before the town board, and the town board can either accept that, or they can, again, reserve decision or possibly make some more modifications. But it's not at this point in time, we are very early in stages. An environmental assessment form has not been completed, so there's really nothing before the board to consider now. But as I said, the public will have plenty of opportunity to be involved in the process with the scoping process, with the change of zone application, which requires a public hearing before the planning board and an additional public hearing before the town board. And with all that being said, there needs to be a new zoning code that needs to be drafted for this, and it's still in the works. So we still have a long time before there's anything before this board to consider.
Okay.
As you can see,
Thank you.
it's quite a convoluted process. There's people that specialize in this. There's classes that are given on just this topic alone, and it's
Yeah, timeframe?
I don't know that you can guess a time frame. Certainly, it isn't the size of this project, but the Heartland project took 15 years. I'm not suggesting that this might be the case here, but I would think we're talking multiple years.
Well, there are timeframes set in place, but an environmental impact statement is, for the Heartland project, we have binders upon binders of research and studies that go into these things. So it takes quite some time to complete that statement and to get it into a form that's acceptable to both the public and the town board.
And also, too, for the record, I would just like to put it out there that during this whole process, as long as it might take, whatever information we have in the town that we will be posted on the website, will be put on the town's Facebook page, so people can have accurate, up-to-date information every step of the way. And would encourage people to, if they don't understand, to please call, or maybe what we'll do is create a section like we did with the Heartland project, where people can go in and actually email their specific questions and have them answered specifically, so that there is no misunderstanding. When we knew that there was a lot of interest in this and that people would be coming forward, the department did a little outline of the process that was put on the website or the Facebook page. And even in that, there was some misunderstanding, but certainly not an opportunity for us to respond to each and every comment that was a little bit inaccurate. But in any event, we're really trying to give you the information. The person has a right to file an application, and there is a very strict, stringent process that will take place. And I can't speak for everyone on the board, but I have a feeling that I can, that we're here to listen to you. We're here to protect your interest. We are here to do what's right. And we'll be sharing that information as we go forward. Are there any other comments that anyone would like to make before we start the public portion?
I just have a question for our town attorney. Chair, would it be safe to say that it would be at least a year and a half out before we make any kind of a vote?
Forget about the secret process. The change of zone process itself, you'd have to have at least 2 public hearings. Planning board public hearing, typically with an application of this magnitude, they would reserve decision and issue a determination at a public meeting, not necessarily a public hearing. And then, if it were recommended for approval, we'd have to have another public hearing before the town board. So just that alone is, it's months at the very shortest. But the secret process is to complete the environmental impact statement. I think it's going to be a long time.
And
I don't want to put a time frame on it because there's really no way to tell.
Right, and it also depends on the applicant, how quickly they submit their information to us. And then if the applicant was to change their mind and reverse course and decide that, well, this doesn't look like it's, you know, getting enough support, if the applicant decides to change their application or change their mind, is that foilable? Like, can we let the public know that if they change their mind?
If they file a modified application.
A modified application. We could let them know. Okay, great. Thank you.
Councilman Flattering.
It's also, just everybody understand, every property owner has the right to go for a process of a change of zone, and we legally and professionally have to, have open ears to this process. Doesn't mean things don't change or happen or get approved or not approved. That happens on many different applications. So we do enjoy the input, but again, some people were out there politically saying voting no, and no, everyone gets their day to go through the whole process in a very open, public way, and that's what this board would always do.
Thank you. All right, let us go to the public portion then. The first speaker, again, you have 3 minutes. We will be listening. No questions and answers. However, there are a few cards here. If there are any specific issues, the commissioners are here and we'll try to handle them. First speaker is Dawn Urquhart. Dawn? Oh. I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
Struggling with my papers. Can you hear me in the back? Yes. Okay, Don Urquhart, Colony Drive in Holbrook. I'm here to thank the supervisor and her team for their willingness to begin the difficult work of addressing the hazardous activities and conditions on the industrial parcels on Furrows Road in Holbrook. And I'd be remiss if I did not recognize Town Attorney DeCicio's follow-up and communication. It's encouraging. Like most, if not many, like many I should say, if not most, my introduction to the workings of town government began with an issue that was intensely personal to me. And along the way, I have met a diverse number of people with a broad range of issues. But interestingly enough, the differences between our issues are, I think, surpassed by a commonality. Public policy is not easy. It's challenging. It's not a prescription for individual happiness. And no one has a right to an outcome that they prefer. But I think we should all recognize that we should all have the right to participate, to be heard, to make our case, to appeal to our representatives before they make decisions. So what I'm suggesting is that I have what I consider to be a fresh set of eyes on this. I'm no smarter than anybody else here, but I'm going to offer a perspective. I have a fresh set of eyes, and speaking to a number of people, I think that this process, or some of the challenges, and I've been here now for a while, have been coming, some of the frustration wouldn't be there. Some of the consternation wouldn't be there if people had the opportunity to participate, just to be heard, to make their case to their elected representatives, regardless of the outcome. And what I'm really focusing on is the evening meetings, and there are only 2 evening meetings. That's an issue, and for many people, working people, who just can't be here. So in the last minute, I have a petition signed by 459 people. I will read part of it. We, the undersigned residents of Islip Township, believe that government must be accessible and accountable to everyone it represents, not just to political parties and donors. We have to work for a living to maintain our homes and pay our taxes, and cannot attend meetings at 2 p.m. on Tuesdays. That should not disqualify us from participating in the process. We should not be forced to choose between our livelihoods and our essential responsibility to participate in civic affairs. Accordingly, we hereby petition the town board to schedule its board meetings no earlier than 6:30 p.m. so that the majority of the town's taxpayers and voters can attend, observe, speak, and make their appeals to their representatives. I would ask that you consider this, and thank you.
Thank you, John. Next speaker, Mylan Lewis.
Do I hand this to?
Right, this gentleman here will take it from you.
What is it? There's more to come. What is that? It says it on the thing. Good evening. I would first like to start by congratulating Trish Bergen on your win. Can we get your name and address, please? Oh, Mylan August, I thought you had it, Sayville.
Thank you.
First, I would like to start by congratulating Trish Bergen on her win. I know there was comments on the Facebook page that were a few not so flattering, but please understand the community is passionate at times and can be overzealous. We raise our families here, and many of...
Mylan, would you just slow that microphone down so you're speaking into it? Good, thank you.
So am I repeating? Because I'm losing time here, so do I... What do
Well,
I...
keep talking.
We raise our families here, and many have lived in the community for generations, and they don't want to see that change with a city built within their community. As a school board member, I witnessed firsthand that many families stay here. I see third-generation students attend our schools. Regular equity partners purchase a golf course with the intent of building a city within our suburban community. I don't see any benefits why this board would ever approve for a zone change. Please reference the verbiage and recommendation by the committees who prepared the 2009 corridor study. The major impact on traffic, the impact on the school district, property values, the impact on the local fire department and ambulance corps, disruption of soil that has been tainted for years with pesticides and fertilizers that predate what the current health code sanctioned today, displacement of the wildlife that currently exists, and lastly, discarding a 100-year-old manicured green space that is the staple of our community. I could go on and on, but I've only had 3 minutes. If the GOP gets their way and enforces the additional tax burdens on the working families in our communities, what would be the incentive to live here if 1,365 apartments are built, commercial space, and double that or triple that in cars? Several months after reckless submission of the application and architect plans, he reached out to the community 3 times that I'm aware of. It was to gather community input. From what I understand, these community meetings were not successful for Reckler because nobody in attendance was buying into the bells and whistles from his presentation. The response was unanimous, and everyone who attended was not interested in a zone change or a building of apartments. Since then, Reckler, from what I know of, has not met with the community since. Many months later, the community received a letter from Anne-Marie Jones, and in my opinion, I believe, like others, was a misrepresentation of her position as a community liaison. Reckler states that he wants to work with the community, but I find it difficult to believe after receiving the Anne-Marie Jones letter the day before the election. Why would Anne-Marie Jones misrepresent herself and use a UPS mailing address not only on the envelope, but also included in her letterhead? So much for transparency. It was also brought to my attention that many have called the planning board department and was misguided and directed to speak to Anne-Marie Jones. I have to ask, why did the planning board redirect those calls and pass them to Anne-Marie Jones? And is this normal practice or procedure? I sit on the board and I feel it's my responsibility to answer the community questions to the best of my ability. And if I can't, I will direct them to someone within the district that works, not an outside entity.
Mylan, if you could sum up, please, your time's up.
Okay, I'm from the city, living in Sayville for 11 years. The reason for the move from the city was that my husband worked for in New York Center, and he didn't want to do the 3-hour commute. I was kicking and screaming, didn't want to come here. It took me close to 2 years to get acclimated. As time went on, I immersed myself into the community. For everyone that knows me, I'm involved in everything and rarely say no, especially if it would help the community and, more importantly, the kids. While at times I may miss some of the benefits of living in the city, I don't miss the traffic or the overcrowding, and there are many times I can't wait to get back home to Sayville. I've grown to love living in a suburban community and appreciate the green space and tranquility around me. So please respect our values and where we choose to live with our families and raise our kids. Please respect the working families.
Thank you.
And I have...
Next speaker, Ellen Purrs.
Good evening. I'm also here to talk about Island Hills. And I did a little research. Oh, I'm sorry, Ellen Purrs, 952 Chester Road in Sayville. I did some research about the effect of apartments in residential areas. One thing that I came up with, which Reckler has not said, is that home values declined by 14% in towns that have a higher concentration of apartments than other towns in the county which have fewer apartments. Now, this decline affects the whole area, not just the homes surrounding the golf course. Like, I'll be looking at whatever they decide to build. My house will be affected, but so will every other house in Sayville because of the way they appraise houses. That's what I was told. Now, the 1365 proposed apartments double what now exists in Sayville and Bohemia combined. So clearly you can understand our dismay and our concern that our homes will suffer in value. Reckler is touting that that these apartments will be rented by millennials, yet I researched that. New research is showing that millennials are getting older and don't want apartments anymore because they're starting families. They want homes like all of us wanted. They want more space. They want yards for their dogs, believe it or not. Before, Mrs. Carpenter, you were speaking about how you wanted to have somebody, maybe create an office or somebody to answer our questions. Well, Anne Marie Jones is the one that we're getting, whose number we've been given, who's answering our questions. Let's remember, she's getting paid by Reckler. She approved the planning, when she was a planning commissioner in Babylon, she approved the Gray Barn in Amityville. She's biased. I don't want to hear from her. She's not the person who should be answering our questions. There's, a bit of impropriety there. Clearly, we can see why her views are biased. She's getting paid by people that she allowed to build in Babylon. Clearly, we don't want a zoning change. Over 1,800 people have signed an online petition protesting this change. Hundreds more have done a paper petition. I believe that it's incumbent upon you as elected representatives to heed the wishes of your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Just a point of clarification. I did not say we would be creating an office for questions. What I said was on the website, the way we did for the Heartland project was to have a designated area so that you could just go to the website, type in your questions, and you would get a response to that specific question coming from the department, the planning department. Exactly. No.
Because our calls are getting directed to Anne Marie Jones.
And that was, if there were specific questions from the developer's point of view, the planning department was giving that phone number if there were any specific questions for the developer. But I am talking about putting something on the website so that if you have questions, whatever they are, that will be answered by our planning department.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Next speaker, Frank Ernst.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you, Frank. Eileen O'Sullivan.
Nothing.
Donna Brown.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Donna Brown. I live at 735 Durham Road in Sayville, where I've been a resident for almost 39 years. Okay, can I ask a question? I just want to know, I guess it's a rhetorical question, because I'm not sure if the board members actually know where this property is, and if they've actually driven around the property to see what the homes presently are like. And, thank you very much. Okay. So at this point, I'd like to explain some implications about the Reckler Equity Partners plan. There's many residents who've lived in this area in peace for over 40, 50, and even 60 years. The golf course was not distressed when it was purchased. There was never complaint about its appearance. It's not our fault that the sale was pushed and accepted for, I think, about $40 million. It's zoned AAA. They bought it when it was AAA. They knew it was surrounded by modest 2- and 1-story homes. It does not harken back to the Dutch colonial past that they have in their marketing to sell these giant 4-story buildings. They say they're visionaries. I disagree. They're carpetbaggers. Sayville already has 10 rental complexes. We're not against rental complex. We have over 700 apartments. But 2-, 3-, 4-story buildings, some football field long. I have to say, if you visualize that, visualize what it's going to mean for our roads, 4 exits onto Lakeland, an exit onto Bohemia Parkway, an exit onto 11th Street, that people are going to be staring at this after, it's just untenable. There are many more statistics. We'll have plenty of time to get into it. Apparently, it's a long process. But I have to tell you, they bought a AAA zoning. They knew it was AAA zoning. A PDD, it's not right. It's untenable. And, I hope you hear us, because what they're trying to do, it's wrong. It's wrong. It's just wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Eileen Panico.
There's a lot of people here that did a lot of research into this, and we'll give you a lot more facts and figures. Eileen Panico, it's against open meetings law, but I'll give it to you anyway. Eileen Panico, Ronkonkoma, New York. They'll give you a lot of facts and figures. I want to let you know that the Ronkonkoma Civic Association, we have the hub coming in, as you all know. We were actually at the, Bruce was at the groundbreaking. And that's an area where you put that kind of development. We're also working with you guys in the town and in the Suffolk County IDA for the Islip side of the Ronkonkoma hub. Again, an area that you would put that kind of density in. In the middle of Sayville, surrounding with acre plots of regular homes, it was zoned for 88 to 100 homes, I'm not sure. Again, there are smarter people here that have done more research on it. That's not an area that you put a mini city in. If it's not around a train station, I really don't see how we can justify that. So right now, as it stands, the RCA is in support of the no zone change, and we hope that you keep it as a AAA zone. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. Carlo Gambale. Thank you, Carlo. Laura Biella Rodriguez. Laura Biella Rodriguez. Okay. Ken Cold Minicki.
Good evening, Ken Kolinicki, 704 Durham Road, Sayville, New York. I'm concerned about the upcoming decisions that will be made in regards to zoning changes on the Island Hills property. I have lived 200 feet from the golf course for the past 35 years. I'm very concerned about the impact 1,300 some odd apartment units will have on the community, our area, water quality, and the current wildlife that lives on this 114 acres. I'm very concerned also about the traffic impact it will have on our local roads, Sunrise Highway and the Oakdale Merge. Please take into consideration the 2009 corridor traffic study and its specific reference to the Island Hills property and the recommendations on how Island Hills should remain green space or recreational use only. Our quaint towns of Sayville and Bohemia are super saturated with rental complexes, and the approval of this Reichler project will double the number of apartment complexes in our area. Reichler purchased this property knowing its current zoning is AAA, and that is what we, the community, want it left as. We, the taxpayers, do not want more of a tax burden to upgrade the Connequot School District, the fire department, and the ambulance squad to cover the additional population while Reichler profits from it. Four-story buildings will by no means fit the character of the single-family homes that surround the golf course. Lastly, I'm concerned to see where our elected officials' allegiance will lie, with the residents or with the developers who have made generous contributions to their election campaigns. Thank you.
Tom White.
Hi, my name is Tom. My name is Tom White, 17-year resident of Sayville. Very proud resident of Sayville. volunteer, my business there. I know about half of you up here by face, if not by some of the meetings that we've gone to over the years. I plan all the music and most of the acts for Sayville Summerfest. So some of you might recognize me. Hopefully you appreciate my efforts over the years.
We certainly do.
Thank you. I'd like to do something a little bit different just for a minute. I want everybody in the room to close their eyes for a second, just for about 30 seconds. Just indulge me, including everybody up on the board. Okay? Now, picture the beautiful place that you live at. No matter what town it is, Babylon, East Islip, Syosset, wherever the Recklers live in Nassau County. Okay? Drop in a miniature left-rack city, okay, right behind your fence. Two-story, three-story, four-story. How thrilled would you folks be? Okay? How happy would you be for your children, your young children? Okay, I have an adopted son from China. He's 8 years old. I planned on staying in Sayville at least the next 10 years, if not 20 to 25 years. I wanted to retire in Sayville. Now I'm questioning that. If this is going to go through, I'm going to rethink my plans for the future. I'm not going to sit here and get steamrolled by a company that is from a different county that has zero intentions of helping us. This is only a money grab. I'm watching everybody's reactions. Okay? This is a money grab. I'm very concerned about what the lawyer for the town said before. I do not like somebody coming from 30 to 50 miles away, coming here to our quaint, quiet, really nice little town, and they're going to drop in a miniature city and expects us to sit here and take this. This is absolutely ridiculous. I don't appreciate it. I don't think 95% of the people in here appreciate it. And I'd like you folks to all look me in the eye and tell me, when this vote comes to fruition, are you going to do the right thing for Sayville and for Bohemia and Ronkonkoma and Connecticut School District and everybody else who's going to be affected by this? The wildlife, the aquifer, the firemen, the ambulance corps, everything that's going to have a taxing effect on it. Are you going to look me in the eye right now and tell me that you're going to do the right thing when it comes to that vote to change the zoning?
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you for your time.
Mary Reed. Kevin Shapiro.
Kevin Shapiro, 851 Smithtown Avenue in Bohemia. Ladies and gentlemen of the council, I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to speak tonight. As was mentioned, you guys are us and you represent us, and we voted for you because of your integrity, your judgment, and that you'll have our best interests in mind. I even received, the campaign mailing from you, Ms. Bergen-White-Broad and Mr. O'Connor, and simply said, we promise to listen. I believe you will do that. I believe the process will come to fruition in a way that's, that's fair for the community. In this case, the voice of the community, I think it's pretty clear, is a resounding no as far as the zoning change goes. I think that's, although maybe not unanimous, very close. When I look at this project, I think the first thing that has to be considered, is does this fit the character and the fabric of the community? Based on the sheer scale of this, perhaps about 1,400 units, I was told that could mean upwards of 3,000 people. To me, that does not fit the character of the community. 27 buildings, some massive, some football fields long, some as big as 4 stories, just doesn't fit the character of that neighborhood. I was told this would be about 25% more additional residents in the town of Sayville itself. Anything of that scale, to me, does not fit the character of the community. I think that what fits the character of the community, I mean, pie in the sky would be for it to just stay green space. I think a lot of us, emotionally, would be in favor of that. But being as that's most likely not going to be the case, what does fit the character of the community in this case are residential, owner-occupied homes on 1 acre. That's predominantly in that neighborhood, that's what we have. And I think in this case, that would be the most fair. Again, there are other rental complexes through Bohemia, Sayville, and West Sayville, and I just don't think that we have the need for these right now. To me, really, honestly, it's a quality of life issue for myself and my family. I live in Bohemia just across the highway from this proposal. I live with my wife, Kim, my son, Derek, who's 15, my son, Devin, who's soon to be 14, my son, Kai, who's soon to be 10, and my daughter, Lila Gracie, the president, who's going to be 8. And, a lot of the activities that we like to do involve Sayville. This summer was the first one where Lila Gracie really sort of mastered the two-wheeler, and we ride our bikes there. That's it? That was 3 minutes?
Thank you.
Okay. On behalf of the community and my family, I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mitch Selden.
Hi. I'm Mitch Selden, 52 Browns River Road, 3 in Bayport. I have another issue about my little block in Bayport. I went to school with Trish in Connecticut, and I used to live in Oakdale. So before I start, what my problem is, Island Hills was a beautiful place. So I feel bad if they're going to put up some kind of jackass complex. So I just want to say that. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
My issue is in Bayport. I live on the Great South Bay on Browns River Road 3, and we were told by the town after Sandy to raise up all of our homes because they're raising up the street. So we did all that. I spent $300,000 of my own money just to raise up my home. Meanwhile, our houses are now all high and dry, and the street's all low and wet. The street's still very, very low. I don't know if you guys know the street. It's Brown River Road 3, across from Bayport Marine. In front of my house, which is 52, it sits very, very low. And they have to do something about the street. We all own SUVs. We need to raise up the street because we raised up our homes, and it's not fair that we have to go through 2, 3, and 4 foot of water to get to our homes. Now, what if we can't get to our homes? I have a big investment in my home, and I've been there since 1982. I guess that's 35 years. So I don't know what the town can do for us. I heard there's a program called FIR or something like that. New York Rising. Yes, they helped us. But there's a thing called FIN 2, I heard, Trish, and about giving money for streets that are very, very low. But, or New York Rising, so I don't know what you guys can do for my block. It's a very small block. The other issue with that block as well is Siemens Avenue, which is like a vein or an artery that goes into Oak and into my block. That also gets massively flooded. So, it's a small little area, but it's the Great South Bay, and we need to get in and out of our property. So, I don't know if we need to get like a study done, or if you guys can come down there and look at the property and see the issue. But do anything, even just raise up the street a little bit. But something needs to be done, and I thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you for coming down, and I will give this to the commissioner and ask them to go out there and look.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mitch, just to add to that, I know that some of your neighbors had contacted me through Facebook and through my office, and I also encourage you to contact Senator Tom Croce's office, because that is part of the New York Rising project. I had spoken to our commissioner about it here. So I would encourage you to continue to talk to Senator Croce's office as well.
Thank you, Trish. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Michael Capuano. Michael Capuano.
Mike Capuano, Ocean Avenue. I've lived in the town of Islip for 46 years. I would like to ask a rhetorical question. Why do we have zoning laws? Why do we have zoning rules? You know, and the thing is, the zoning rules, zoning boards are for one purpose entirely, and that is to stop a project such as this. Okay, but it doesn't happen. Instead, you guys will rubber stamp this. We're going to see all this mumbo jumbo, and then there'll be on the page 50 of Newsday, Town Board approves it. It's all a waste of time. Okay? So the thing is, why have everybody that lives here, why do we live by these codes? Anybody who's ever tried to put a deck, or everybody have tried to build, if you have a sick mother and you got to put an additional room on, they will torment you to death, and they will give you every speech about how we have to protect our roads and our schools, and then these builders come in here and they take the rules and they go like this, and they're on it. Now, I don't know if anybody caught what the town attorney said. If you caught that, he said, we need a whole new code for this, and that's in the works. This is in the works. This is done. Okay? And there's nothing you can do. The only thing you can do is organize and sue them personally. Yes. Because when their houses' values are threatened or their pocketbooks are threatened, that's when you'll see some change. But they don't care. Okay? And that's what's going on here. Okay? And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Kim Richards. And I would just ask that you not shout out when people are speaking. Thank you. Kim?
Hi. Hi, good evening. My name is Kim Richards. I live at 763 Durham Road in Sayville, lifelong resident of Sayville. I actually butt up against the golf course, probably one of the biggest properties that actually butt up side by side with it. Obviously, I'm against the proposal. And we're here just to voice our concerns. Of course, we'd like to keep a green space in Maruno as a golf course. And then secondly, to keep the zoning as residential. It's completely residential over there. And with the quantity of residents that would be moving into this size complex, the parking alone would be falling out into the residential communities. Every piece of surrounding block there is residential, so none of it is actually commercial in those lying areas or streets. We all pretty much move to Sayville or commute back and forth. I know I drive almost an hour and a half each way because I like the aesthetic of Suffolk County and Sayville especially. So I take the time to drive an hour and a half with traffic going through the Oakdale merge as it is, which took me probably about a half hour to get through coming here tonight from Lakeland Avenue to here. So the increase in the population alone would be quite a difference in the traffic for over there to increase. The kids, actually, I was talking to my child and she said, she looks at me and she said, Mom, if you decide you want to move, she goes, I would understand because I could see it changing lately. She said, I don't know if I would want to stay. She goes, and we're talking to the kids in the high school, in Connecticut High School, and they said that with all these apartments coming in that maybe out east, where they go pumpkin picking, is the way they would like to have it, because all these buildings coming in, it's changing, and she said it looks just like it's starting to look like Nassau County. She said, I would understand if you want to pick up and leave. I said, oh, okay. She said, I do not want to change school districts, but I could completely understand that if you wanted to move somewhere where it would stay where it is, like it is now in Sayville. Because like when I drive to work and I take her, she says it's starting to look like Nassau County. So again, I hope for your support. I'm not here to argue with you. I'm just looking for your support in this, and I hope you stand by us and support us with, again, number one, keeping it open green space, and if not, keeping it the AAA zoning for residential. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kim. Mary Ellen McKeon. Mary Ellen McKeon. Mary Ellen. Robert Person.
Hi, Robert Person, 13 Alfred Street in Sayville. I'm against the Island Hills project. I've lived in Sayville for about 15, almost 20 years. And since then, there's been 3 major apartment complexes that have been put up there. Across from Island Hills is one. The senior housing that's just been put up last year, and the other one was St. Paul's Church was. So Lakeland Avenue is maxed out. It takes forever just to get onto Lakeland Avenue. Also, everything that else I was going to say has been pretty much said tonight, but I would just like to ask you guys to think about a referendum on the next ballot, a ballot initiative or a proposition. I just voted for one for Catskills Park, so you could be able to use it for state land, to use for economic development, or to use for roads or bridges or something like that. Oakdale Merge is ridiculous. It takes forever to get through in the morning, and it takes even worse to get home at night. So I understand the Oakdale Merge is a difficult area. It's an environmentally sensitive area. You have the train tracks, you have the creek, the lake, and you have the hunting lodge, the old hunting lodge. That was put up 100 years ago. But times have changed. You can move that thing, you can build a trestle. Sunrise Highway, something has to be done with it. It's getting worse and worse. Patchogue is being developed like crazy. Tons of cars going. So that's one thing. Lakeland Avenue is maxed out. The proposition, if you could somehow bring that up to Albany, get a referendum on the ballot to get Sunrise Highway fixed. They did a great job 20 years ago when they got rid of all those lights, but now it's a problem again. The other thing is, let's consult our urban developers, and if you're going to make Vets Highway different, let's make it so you have a thorough pass and then maybe exits on the side so you can get through it. No lights. Has anybody been to Nassau County lately? I mean, it's stressful. It just looks terrible. There's lights every stops, lights and stop signs everywhere. High-density buildings, gas stations. Like, how many gas stations do we need? How many banks do we need? How many pharmacies do we need? It's getting crazy. So let's consult our urban developers, and please think about a referendum on the ballot for next 4 years or 3 years for a proposition to change Sunrise Highway. Thanks.
Richard Canella.
Chester Road in Sayville. I've been an Islip member for 52 years now, from Bayport to Sayville and back to Sayville, and to see this development come through and possibly be considered is kind of disheartening. And I'm just looking at, and it's kind of concerning to me, and I'm sure to everybody here, that we have roughly 5 people that can make or break this. And this is, I think, going to be just a part of what you're going to be seeing every time there's a meeting, because we're going to really be pushing pretty hard to convince you guys that the majority of these people and the majority of Sayville, Oakdale, and all the surrounding areas are going to be against this project. So I need you guys to really start to consider that, as just remember that you guys were put in these seats by us. So we're asking you guys to just remember that. And if we're saying no, I think you guys need to say no too, okay? That's where I'm at.
Thank you. Anne Marie Jones.
Hello, Supervisor Carpenter and Town Board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Again,
can you
right
hear
into the microphone,
yeah,
please.
How's that? The first thing I'd like to do is to...
May we get your name and address, please?
Sure. Anne Marie Jones. That's me. I am, and my address is South Service Road in Plainview, New York. What I'd like to do, actually, someone made reference to a letter that I sent to the community, and I would like to give it to the town clerk so that it can be, you can see that and it can be made part of the record.
Okay, certainly. Gentlemen, if you would take it.
What's the Plainview address on that one?
Please, no shouting out from the audience.
Okay, so I'm here actually to listen, and I heard a lot of what has been said. I've heard it before, but I've heard it again, and I appreciate it. What I hear, though, is that there's an opposition to the concept of an application to redevelop a piece of property. It's a defunct golf club, and it's private property, and I believe that a property owner has the right to make an application. The application responds to a specific section of the zoning code, and it's basically a first draft. It's a starting point. It's a conceptual plan. It's not written in stone, and we are definitely in the process of soliciting comments from residents. We've had a couple of meetings. We're at the beginning of a long, complex, and very specific SEQRA process, which is outlined by New York State, and it guides the whole review. There are opportunities for formal review and formal comment from the public. Those comments will be incorporated into the plan to the greatest extent possible. There will be more formal community meetings, and we will continue to encourage an open exchange of ideas, suggestions, and comments. This is going to be challenging for all of us. It's easier to say no in the beginning than it is to craft a plan that would possibly satisfy most of the community and the development. It's really, my experience as a planning commissioner was that there was never an application that came in that ever remained the same. That whatever happened down the road, there were always significant changes that were made, and they were based on environmental review, documentation, community meetings. This is no exception. I just really want to convey that this is the beginning of the process. We are open to your suggestions. We do want to have an open dialogue, but we want it to be productive, and we don't want it to be negative, just kind of name-calling people. We want to be able to engage the community in a meaningful way. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Mark Malinowski.
Mark Malinowski, very good. 10 Sterling Place, Sayville. I'm a lifelong resident of Islip Town, born in...
Into the microphone so we can hear you, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Born in Southside Hospital, grew up in Bohemia, got married, moved to Sayville after taking about 5 years to find the right property. I live right across the street from the golf course. I bought it there because I thought I was going to have an open space. I enjoy the wildlife there. I enjoy the quiet street that I live on. I picked that place because it was a quiet neighborhood. It was a quiet street. Now I understand things to change, but to have 3, 4-story apartments put up right out my front window, I'm not crazy about it. I enjoy the wildlife there. There is a lot of wildlife in that area. I don't think it's out of the question to see if we can keep that an open space. There's very little open space left in Sayville. When I was a kid growing up, I lived in Bohemia. We used to have to go all the way to Massapequa to go to a mall, go shopping. And I remember as a kid going out from the country here, and I said, God, if I ever get to look like Massapequa, I want out of here. Well, guess what? We're starting to look like Massapequa over here. Everything's developed. Strip malls, 3-story, 4-story, 5-story buildings. This is not what I came to Islip for. What I would hope that you people would do the right thing and see if we can't keep this open space, or at least keep the zoning. We all have a nice, quiet neighborhood there. We enjoy. I moved there for a reason, and I'd like to keep living there. Please do the right thing by us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Greg Pepe, Islip, New York. I'd like to tell the folks from Sayville that this whole thing is predicated upon the approval of Heartland project, because what's being built there is going to dwarf anything else on this island and gave precedence for all these other developers to follow suit. So where's the traffic study about what's going to take place there? They're being sued, by the way, from Dix Hills, Brentwood School District, because of this build-out. It's unheard of what they're going to create there in traffic and everything else, okay? But it's who has the most money wins in this whole process that we see in front of us. And this gentleman has it right 100%. You can buy time, but in the end, it's going to be passed. There's no way of stopping it. It's urbanization. They want to make it a concrete jungle. You know, moving out here from Brooklyn, you know, to see suburban living. Now you're creating what? Queens, Brooklyn, with these high-rise 10-story structures? It's outrageous. And what happens to the single-family homes, huh? Why don't you build it over in Brightwaters? We'll dredge the lake over there and we'll put high-rise 10-story structures over there. Huh? Or West Islip. Huh? How would you like it in your backyard? 10-story apartment buildings. Huh? What are you going to do with all the garbage that this is going to create? And the kids and the traffic. Do you get up at 4 in the morning trying to make loads into the city? Huh? Where you're in bed sleeping, right? But how about the people that drive for a living? The 53 interchange up by the Sagatows. What's that going to look like when you pack 3,504 apartment building units there? That's besides the retail and the commercial space that they're going to build over there. Now you want to do it in Sayville. Now you want to create something in that magnitude down in Sayville. People can't move on the interchange at Oakdale now. I know you're looking over there. We pay your salaries. You can't even answer us when we come down here and we want answers to these questions. Huh? Enough is enough, you know? But that's all right. You, your children, whatever you want to stay here, go ahead. Me, I'm looking to get out. If you're going to make it look like Brooklyn and Queens, now you want to put a plaza in Bayshore to mimic the High Line. All right? And Eric Alexander from Vision Long Island, he visions the city. That's what it should be called. Vision New York City. That's what you're building out here. So with that, I wish these people all the best luck in the world to stop it. I'm with them 100%. But I don't see anything good happening. It's he who has the most money wins and fills your pockets. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pepe. John Verdone.
Thank you. I don't know if I could follow that up as passionate, but I am passionate. And John Verdone, Sayville, I'm sorry. What I found interesting, there was a woman who spoke a couple minutes ago about conceptual. I live in actual. What we have behind me is actual community members who care what happens to their community. Not conceptual people, real people with real children, real people with real houses, real people who are taxpayers. I sit on the Sayville School Board for 15 years. I know exactly what it's like to have a room full of passionate people for or against something. I live on Eastover Road. I have a cemetery behind me. It's not being built as quickly as the golf course. We cannot allow 27 buildings, 1,345 apartments in Sayville. I didn't move to Sayville for this. I moved to Sayville for the quality of the schools, the quality of the neighborhood, not a big building in my backyard that someone could look at me swimming in my swimming pool. This is not acceptable for Sayville. It's not acceptable for Islip. And I understand what it's like to sit on a board. I understand perfectly. I also understand the will of the community. And the will of the community, I guarantee if I ask everyone to stand behind me who's for the golf course, no one's going to stand. If I ask everyone who'd stand behind me who's against it, you'll see a room full of 75 people standing against it. So please stand, everybody, and show us who's against it. That's 75 to 80 people who are against this. It's a poor design, it's a poor concept, It's not going to help Sayville schools. It's not going to help Connecticut schools. And I have a colleague on the Connecticut school boards who grabbed this with a passion, and I fully understand why she's doing it. I can't accept this to happen. It's AAA. It's like me selling a car as a truck. I sold the car as a car, and I'll sell a truck as a truck. AAA is AAA, period. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, John. Okay, thank you. That is all the speakers who have signed up to speak. We'll move to the regular portion. A motion to close the public portion.
Make a motion to close the public portion.
By Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? The public portion is closed. We will now move on to the regular business to come before the town board. First item on the agenda are the appropriation transfers. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Flaherty, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed is approved. Item 2 is to secure, clean up, and demolish various properties in the town of Islip.
Good evening, Madam Supervisor, members of the Town Board, Town Clerk. Taryn Krasinski, Assistant Town Attorney with the Town of Islip, 655 Main Street, Islip, New York. Number 1 has been withdrawn as it is now in compliance. Number 2, to board and clean up the premises located at 48 Singingwood Drive, Holbrook. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists an unsecured in-ground swimming pool, high grass, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Nolan, second by Councilman Flaherty. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? It is approved.
Number 3, to clean up the premises located at 49 Hillard Avenue, Central Islip. On this property, there now exists litter and debris from a previously demolished building, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Bergen, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved.
Number 4, to board up the premises located at 55 Second Place, Central Islip. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists unsecured windows and doors, as well as a section of the front overhang that is missing, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Is approved.
Number 5, to clean up the premises located at 125 Smith Street, Central Islip. On this property, there now exists high grass, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Questions?
Question.
Councilwoman?
Just curious, I'm looking through the pictures. I don't see, the property looks clean. I do see a dumpster up front, but I don't see any open or unsecured windows or doors, and maybe I'm missing something.
It's just on for cleanup.
Oh, it's just a cleanup? Thank you so much.
No problem.
Well, it's actually clean. No? Looks clean to me.
The fire marshals haven't withdrawn it. I mean, I'll have them look into it again before they send the crew out if you want.
It looks overgrown. Door.
I don't know.
Okay, any other questions on this parcel? Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second.
Abstain.
Second.
Second by Councilman Flaherty. All those in favor? Opposed? We have 4 in favor, 1 abstention. Next, item 6.
Number 6, to clean up the premises located at 156 Grant Avenue, Islip. On this property, there now exists high grass, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Taryn, when they go into clean up this, will they actually paint over that graffiti?
So they're going to do a cleanup on this property, and then the chief building inspector wants to see if it's required for a demolition, but they can't get to the actual property before a cleanup's done. So right now it's on for a cleanup, and then they'll probably come back for another motion.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman Mullen, second.
Second.
By Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
Number 7, to board and clean up the premises located at 178 Timberline Drive, Brentwood. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists unsecured windows and doors, high grass, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Motion?
Sorry, I have a question.
Sure.
Is the tarping that's on the roof, is that because there was, is there access through the roof, or is there holes in the roof? Is that a tarping? I don't know what that is.
It could, I don't have a copy of the picture in front of me, so it could be, but right now it's on for a board up, so if there is a hole in the roof, that would definitely be included in the board up.
Got you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran.
Second.
Second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Is approved.
Number 8, to board and clean up the premises located at 192 Leaf Avenue in Central Islip. On this property, there now exists a shell of a house. The premises appears to have been under construction, that it stopped. High grass, overgrown vegetation, and litter and debris, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions?
Is there an open permit on this? What's the story on this?
So there was a
property?
fire there in September, so I think that's why construction stopped. That's all I have in my notes.
Any other questions?
Yeah, has the fire marshal deemed, because of the fire, that it's now structurally unsound? I don't know how you board up a frame of a house.
They haven't deemed it as a demolition, they've only deemed it as a board up.
Yeah, I'm going to abstain on that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second. I'll make that second. All those in favor? Opposed?
Opposed.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay,
Or
we have one
abstain.
opposed, one abstention, 3 in favor. It is approved.
Sorry. Number 9, to
nine.
board up.
Going to oppose it. Thank you. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Item 9.
Number 9, to board up the premises located at 341 Higbee Lane, West Islip. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists unsecured windows and doors, which constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions? Hearing none. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Mullen. Second. Second by Councilman Fodor. And all those in favor? Opposed? Is approved.
Opposed.
We have 4 in favor, 1 opposed. It is approved. Next item.
Number 10 has been withdrawn as it is now in compliance. Number 11, to demolish the premises located at 1628 East 3rd Avenue in Bayshore. On this vacant and unsecured property, there now exists an unsafe main dwelling and accessory structure, which is in immediate danger of collapse due to structural failure, disrepair, and neglect. The structures have been determined to be in imminent danger of collapse by our chief building inspector. The premises constitutes a nuisance and presents a fire, safety, and health hazard. Notice of this hearing was provided to all known persons with a property interest in this premises.
Any questions on this? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Bergen, second by Councilman Fodor. And all those in favor? Opposed? Is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Taryn. Okay, next item is the meeting of the Town of Islip Industrial Development Agency. I call for a motion for this board to convene.
Make a motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Fodor. All those in favor? Opposed? The meeting is convened, a quorum being present. Bill, if you would.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the agency board. William Maddox, Executive Director, Town of Islip Industrial Development Agency, 40 Nassau Avenue, Islip. We have a number of items for your consideration this evening, the first of which is approval of the minutes of the October 24th meeting.
Motion on the minutes?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Mullen.
Second.
Second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? The minutes are approved.
Next item on the agenda is a new project. It's an inducement resolution involving Banker Construction Corp. They're currently located on Blydenburg Road in Islandia. They're looking to purchase 171 Freeman Avenue in Islip. They are a small electrical, concrete, an environmental contracting company that works in the New York metro area. They currently employ 30 people. They will be expanding that roster by an additional 15 within 2 years. They are expanding rapidly, picking up more contracts. They mostly work for municipalities and utilities, and these are all union, well-paying jobs. The average salary is over $83,000 a year, and they will be investing approximately $4.7 million into the project.
Any questions? Motion?
Motion.
A motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Flaughterin. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved.
Next item on the agenda is another inducement resolution, a new project between the agency and Water Lilies Food, Inc. This company is coming out of Astoria. They are a food manufacturer. They currently employ 165 people in that Astoria facility. They will be moving all of those jobs into our economic region and creating an additional 15 for a total of 180. I'm happy to say that their lease, if it goes through, would be for 100,000 square feet, the last remaining space available in the old Entenmann's manufacturing facility. That means that the bulk of, or almost all of that space will be leased out, more than 500,000 square feet when this lease becomes effective. This is a sales tax exemption only deal. The property already has a property tax abatement coming from an earlier project with the IDA, and they are looking to make $8 million worth of leasehold improvements into the facility.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Flaughterin, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved.
Next item on the agenda is a corresponding resolution. This one would authorize the lease arrangement between Water Lilies and the owner of the property, which is called Suffolk County Industrial LLC, not to be confused with the Suffolk County IDA, and the execution of a tenant agency compliance agreement.
Okay, any questions? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Mullen, second by Councilman Flaughterin. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
The next two items on the agenda are authorizing resolutions for projects that we induced at our last meeting. The first one is Costella Imports, which is a food manufacturer, which is expanding. They're staying in their Hauppauge location and looking to locate in the Heartland Business Park, and we ask for your support at this time.
Any questions? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Bergen, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved.
Similarly, the next one is an authorizing resolution for BSL Great River. That's the assisted living facility proposed for the Great River property behind the Sunrise Business Center.
Any questions? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Mullen, second
Second.
by Councilman Flaughterin. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved.
We'd like to withdraw the next resolution, the authorizing resolution for Galil Importing Corporation. The applicant informed us late yesterday that they are changing the structure of the ownership, so we're withdrawing this authorizing resolution, and we expect to be back to you with an amended resolution at our next meeting. I apologize for
No problem.
having it on.
It's withdrawn. We'll go on to 9.
Number 9 is an amended authorizing resolution for 75 Sunrise LLC, otherwise known as the Atlantic Veterinary Hospital in West Islip. This is an existing project, but they are now looking to purchase a $2 million piece of equipment that is a state-of-the-art diagnostic machine for the animals that they treat, and this was not anticipated at the time of that approval, and so we ask for your authorization for this particular expenditure so that it be exempt from sales tax.
Any questions?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman
Second.
Cochran, second by Councilman Flaughterin. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
Last item on the agenda is a resolution authorizing subleasing of the portion of the Hauppauge Office Park to La Bonne organization. This is a fairly routine authorization in a multi-tenanted office building.
Any questions? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Flaughterin, Second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
I have no other items to come before the
Thank you very
agency.
much, Bill. Motion to adjourn the IDA meeting. Motion by Councilman Flatteren, second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? The IDA meeting is adjourned. We will now move to item 4, an authorization with the supervisor to execute an agreement with J.P. Morgan Chase for the payment of courier services provided by Rapid Armor Corporation to the receiver of taxes. Motion by Councilman Flatteren, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Bless you. Item 5 is the meeting of the Town of Islip Resource Recovery Agency. Call for a motion to convene this board meeting. Motion by Councilman Flatteren, second by Councilman Mullen. The meeting of the Islip Resource Recovery is in session, if you will, and a quorum being present. Commissioner Hyde.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the agency board. I have 3 resolutions for your consideration this evening. First is approval of the minutes of the October 24th, 2017 agency board meeting.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilman Mullen.
Second.
Second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? The minutes are approved.
I have a resolution authorizing the president to enter into a contract between the agency and D&B Consulting Engineers and Architects to provide general engineering, on-call, planning, and environmental regulatory compliance support services related to the continued operation and maintenance of the MacArthur Resource Recovery Facility for 2 years, 2018 and 2019.
Any questions? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Flatteren. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved.
Final resolution is for authorizing the board of the agency to appoint Kenneth Moses as acting operations manager on a part-time basis.
Any questions?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Flatteren. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Is there any other business?
That is all for this evening. Thank you.
Hearing no other business, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Councilman Flatteren, second. Second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? The Islip Resource Recovery Agency meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move to item 6, which is the bid awards. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Flatteren, second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It is approved. Item 7, option year resolutions. Any questions?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Flatteren. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Item 8 is the meeting with the Town of Islip Foreign Trade Zone Authority. Call on a motion for the board to convene.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Bergen, second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? The Foreign Trade Zone Authority Board is convened, a quorum being present. Mr. Hemingway.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Foreign Trade Zone Board. My name is Brad Hemingway, and I'm the Executive Director for the Town of Islip Foreign Trade Zone Authority, located at 1 Trade Zone Drive in Ronkonkoma, New York. I have 2 items for your consideration this afternoon, or this evening, I should say. First item being approval of the minutes from the March 21st, 2017 meeting Town of Islip Foreign Trade Zone Board.
Any question on the minutes? Motion
approved.
by Councilman Cochran, second. Second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? The minutes are approved. Next item.
Next item is adoption of the Town of Islip Foreign Trade Zone Authority 2018 budget.
Any questions? Hearing none. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Flatteren, second. Second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? The resolution is approved. Any other business?
Nothing.
Hearing none. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The Foreign Trade Zone Authority Board meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move to item 9, is an authorization with the supervisor to enter into various agreements for programs to be held throughout the town of Islip to be funded by either registration fees or grant funds. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Councilman Mullins, second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Next is the acceptance of a donation of 6 flagpoles and 6 flags, including the American Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and Coast Guard, from Daniel Leach, a Boy Scout from Troop 277, as part of his Eagle Scout project, which was installed on the grounds of Clayton Street Park in Central Islip. Any questions?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilwoman Flatteren. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 11 is an approval to co-sponsor Festival of Trees event at Brookwood Hall from 3 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Any questions?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Flatteren, second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 12 is an authorization for the supervisor to apply for and accept grant funding from the Suffolk County Office for the Aging for funding of an essential transportation program. Any questions? Motion.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Flatteren. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Next item is an authorization for the supervisor to execute a subrecipient agreement with the Town of Islip Community Development Agency for the receipt of CDBG funding for the Roberto Clemente Pool Rehabilitation Project. Any questions?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Flatteren, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Next item is an authorization with the supervisor to execute an amendment to the professional services agreement with Nelson & Pope to conduct an engineering and economic feasibility study for certain improvements to the administration pool building and additional construction oversight services for improvements to Roberto Clemente Park and Pool. Any questions? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Flatteren, second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Next item is an approval to submit the list of roads to be included in the New York State Department of Transportation's local highway inventory for the town of Islip. This will enable us to get funds. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Flatteren. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Next is an authorization for the supervisor to execute the option to renew DPW 2-2015 thermoplastic reflectorized pavement markings to the Fenceman, Inc. for the first one-year extension to December 31, 2018. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion? Motion by Councilman Mullen, second by Councilwoman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Next item is authorization for the supervisor to exercise the option to renew DPW 6-2015 repair of fuel pumps at various locations in the town of Islip to Heinrich Equipment to March 2018. Any questions? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Flatteren, second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Next is an authorization with the supervisor to execute a contract with L.K. McLean Associates, P.C. for the Maple Avenue Dock Reconstruction Phase 2. Any questions? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Flatteren. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Next is an authorization for supervisors to sign any and all permit applications which are required for the reconstruction and site improvements to the existing Little League fields at 10 Wheeler Road in East Islip. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Mullen, second by Councilman Flatteren. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. 20 is an authorization for the supervisor to execute a contract with Safety Marketing, Inc. for runway rubber and paint removal and restriping services at Long Island MacArthur Airport. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Flatteren. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 21 is an authorization for the supervisor to execute a contract with Oxford Airport Technical Services, which was the lowest responsible bidder for contract DAT 2017-4, maintenance and repair of the baggage delivery system at Long Island MacArthur Airport. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Flatteren, second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. 22 is an authorization for the supervisor to execute all documents necessary for the approval of the change order to contract with J. Anthony Enterprises relating to general contracting services for the construction of the new ARFF facility at Long Island MacArthur Airport. That's the firefighter facility. Any questions?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Item 23 is an approval permitting the Town of Islip Youth Bureau to host drop-off sites throughout the town to collect pass-through donations for the Toys for Tots program. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion?
Simplify motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Flatteren. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Next item is an authorization for the town clerk to advertise for a public hearing to adopt local law to amend Town Code Chapter 41 taxation exemption for Cold War veterans to remove 10-year limitation of the Cold War veterans exemption. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by
No, I
Councilman...
have to recuse myself. I'm a Cold War veteran.
Oh, okay.
I have to recuse myself.
Okay. Motion. So motion by Councilman Flatter and second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? Are you really abstaining?
I'm a Cold War
Okay.
veteran.
Okay. Sounds good. The next item is special events. There are 4 tree lightings, a polar plunge, and many other great events across the town. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Mullen, second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? Is approved. Next item on the agenda, authorization for the town clerk to advertise for a public hearing to consider contracting with the commissioners of the Bay Shore Fire District to provide fire protection to the Bay Shore Fire Protection District. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Flatteren, second
Second.
by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? We have 1 abstention. Item 27, authorization with the supervisor to enter into an agreement with the Bay Shore Bright Waters Rescue Ambulance to provide ambulance services to the Bay Shore Ambulance District for the 2018 year. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion? Motion by Councilman Flatteren, second by Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. 28 is an authorization with the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Brentwood Region Ambulance to provide ambulance services to the Brentwood Volunteer Ambulance District for the 2018 year. Any questions? Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Flatteren, second by Councilman Bergen. 1 abstention. All in favor? The resolution passes. Item 29, authorization for the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Central Islip Hop-Hog Volunteer Ambulance to provide ambulance services to the Central Islip Hop-Hog Volunteer Ambulance District for the 2018 year. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Flatteren, second by Councilman Bergen. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. We go to item 30, authorization for the supervisor to enter into an agreement with the Exchange Ambulance Corporation of the Islips to provide ambulance services to Exchange Ambulance District for the 2018 year. Any questions?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cochran, second by Councilman Flatteren. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 31 is an authorization for the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Community Ambulance Company, Inc. to provide ambulance services to the Sayville Community Ambulance District for the 2018 year. Any questions? Motion? Motion by Councilman Bergen, second by Councilman Flatteren. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Item 32, approval to symbolically name the intersections of Broadway Avenue and Inverness Road in Holbrook to FDNY
I think the family might be here. A member of the family.
Lieutenant Vincent Ungaro Way to honor, in honor of Vincent Rocco Ungara. Are there any questions? Hearing none. I understand the family members are here. We have a motion and a second. Everyone appears to be in favor.
Okay, I just want to say it's not lieutenant, it's captain.
Captain, okay. We will make sure that change is noted. Thank you very much.
I did.
Councilman Cochran, and second by Councilman Flatteren. All those in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Thank you very much. The final item on the agenda this evening is an approval to execute a contract with Edwards & Company to perform insurance brokerage services for calendar year 2018. Any questions? Hearing none. Motion?
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Flatteren, second by Councilman Mullen. All those in favor? Opposed? And we had, all in favor? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay, very good. Item 33 is approved. Since there is no other business to come before us, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Flatteren, second. By Councilman Cochran. All those in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much, and I hope everyone really has a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Major emergencies can strike in an instant, and in those moments, information is the key to staying safe. Town of Islip officials urge residents to take advantage of Islip's e-alert system to stay informed during hurricanes and major emergencies and to receive important news in their community. Residents, businesses, and community leaders can all benefit from this system, which can instantaneously pass important information to those who have signed up. The e-alert system has evolved into a necessary tool for all Islip residents, and here to stress the importance is Islip Town Supervisor Angie Carpenter.
You know, being the supervisor of the town, one of the most important things to me is making sure we keep our residents safe. And we try to give you those tools whenever possible, get information to you in a timely fashion. And one of the ways we can do that is with our e-alert system. So if you haven't already done so, I ask that you please go to the Town of Islip website, islipny.gov, and go to the link for e-alert. Put your information in there, and this way, whatever disaster may be coming our way, and hopefully there are none, but any information that we need to get to you, we can get to you in a timely fashion. Thank you so much, and please stay safe.
When did paying for airfare become so unfair? At Southwest, we do things differently. So differently, we invented a word for it: transparency. Transparency means we don't dream up ways we can trick you into paying more. It means respect. Because we don't just fly you, we like you.
A new day is dawning in America. This year, America's hardworking men and women will leave millions of vacation days unused. Today, 10,000 babies will be born without their loved ones around. This afternoon alone, 6,200 couples will be married, but only a fraction of their friends and family will be able to attend. But there is a new day dawning in America where millions of Americans can afford to take the time they deserve to visit this great land, to be there for life-changing events, to create new jobs, start new businesses, and embrace life to its fullest with an airline that is committed to a prouder, stronger, and better flying experience, with fares that are affordable, with service that is dependable, and with a friendly experience tailored to you. That airline is Frontier. And come rain or snow or dark of night, Frontier will deliver on the promise of low fares done right. It's a new day in America. Why would we ever want to fly another way?
We taught him how to hit a baseball, how to hit a receiver, the strike zone, the net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Major emergencies can strike in an instant, and in those moments, information is the key to staying safe. Town of Islip officials urge residents to take advantage of Islip's e-alert system to stay informed during hurricanes and major emergencies, and to receive important news in their community. Residents, businesses, and community leaders can all benefit from this system, which can instantaneously pass important information to those who have signed up. The e-alert system has evolved into a necessary tool for all Islip residents, and here to stress the importance is Islip Town Supervisor Angie Carpenter.
You know, being the supervisor of the town, one of the most important things to me is making sure we keep our residents safe. And we try to give you those tools whenever possible, get information to you in a timely fashion. And one of the ways we can do that is with our e-alert system. So if you haven't already done so, I ask that you please go to the Town of Islip website, islipny.gov, and go to the link for e-alert. Put your information in there, and this way, whatever disaster may be coming our way, and hopefully there are none, but any information that we need to get to you, we can get to you in a timely fashion. Thank you so much, and please stay safe.
It's a beautiful day out here. Sunny today with light breezes, giving way to clouds in the afternoon. We could see some light precipitation to moderate precipitation later on, followed by powerful storm-like conditions. 90 miles per hour winds are expected. Authorities are asking everyone, stay indoors. Come on, that's it. Let's go.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
Okay, so we drowned the fire, stirred it, drowned it again, and now just feel if it's cold.
Yeah.
Cool.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
I know. I already posted it.
Thank you.